Coming up next, our main event.
The NABF Lightweight Championship is on the line. Top contender Michael Clark, defending champ Steve Quinonez. The mongoose is loose. It's Fox. Let's rock.
There's only one way. There's only one way. There's only one way. To Fox! Fox rocks!
Well, when you're on the desert, you cool off any way you can. One of the many water parks around the Palm Springs area, but no water park here. We're at Trump 29 Casino, and we come now to our main event of the evening. It is a battle for the NABF Lightweight Championship. Steve Quinonez, who will have the home crowd in his corner without question, and Michael Clark. Barry Tompkins, Rich Murata telling you about it. And Rich, Michael Clark was a guy who was so confident when we talked to him today that he hardly talked about tonight's fight. He talked about his next fight.
Yeah, he's already calling out Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, he doesn't think Steve Quinonez is much of a battle for him here. He may get surprised in this, but these two guys, I think, present a very interesting contrast, and I think comparable in terms of their skill level. So I think we're going to have a good fight.
Yeah, and there wasn't any of that complimenting the other guy when we talked to these two guys. They both sort of dismissed the other guy as just, well, he's really not much. I'm not worried about him. I ought to be able to take care of business. Clark just said, Quinonez, not much. He's not going to give me much of a problem. He doesn't have the experience that I have.
Well, I didn't, it's hard to accept that he really feels that way, but it might be some bravado, but he might in fact feel that way. He's had good fights, Clark. There's no question about that. He's fought good opponents. He fought Arturo Gregorian for the championship of the WBO. That was one of his 2 defeats, but he defeated Levander Johnson in a wild brawl that those two had. And so he knows what it's like to get into the ring with a real tough guy. You saw his nickname on the back of his robe right there, Cold Blood.
And that was given to him by the guys at Kronk Gym. And you fight at Kronk Gym, you best be tough. Let's talk a little bit about the other half of this matchup. That is Steve Quinonez. Again, we talk about coming into the other guy's camp. That's exactly what Michael Clark is doing, because Quinonez, he's got this whole house.
Oh yeah, this is his home area. This is his home area, and he is going to be the sentimental favorite tonight, which again doesn't worry Clark in the least. But Quinonez is a guy who has come on and resuscitated his career. It appeared as though his career was at maybe an end, Barry, just a couple of years ago. But he has managed to really revive it. This is why many people thought it was all over. Fighting Mickey Ward, you saw that left hook to the solar plexus. Down went Quinonez in the first round. How many times has Mickey Ward done this to somebody? But at this point, Quinonez was written off by a lot of people. But he came back and resuscitated his career. Got wins. This last win you see over Antonio Ramirez in what was just a breathtaking battle for 12 rounds. A terrific battle that those two had. Prior to the fight with Ramirez, he had beaten Lovemore Nadeau. He had beaten Jose Luis Juarez. So he has gotten it back together again.
Yeah, I think that can be said really about both of these guys. Somebody tonight, though, is going to walk away the loser. With more on his thoughts, here's the champ, Sean O'Grady.
Thanks, guys. This should be a pretty good fight and a good stylistic matchup. Steve Quinonez, since his win over Antonio Ramirez, he really showed that he knows how to face that kind of style. The style that comes after you and really puts the pressure on. All of a sudden tonight, he has a completely different kind of style in front of him. And Michael Clark, he is more of a boxer. This should be a good complementary fight, but it should show for Steve Quinonez if he understands how to fight one who moves. Also, Steve Quinonez fighting at home is more difficult because you're the most popular man in the arena, guys, except for you two.
Champ. That's right, of course. And it's not even our home turf. Here's the tail of the tape, brought to you by Just for Men, hair color just for men. More than a hair color, it's the Rejuvenator. Quinonez 3 years older than Clark. Other than that, not really a lot of difference. Clark has a reach advantage. Clark said he's going to give Quinonez a lot of different looks. He's going to be the boxer, but he's also going to come after him, and he's also going to move side to side. So it's going to be up to Quinonez to adjust as best he can. Right now, the center of the ring, and Amy Hayes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Goose and Tudor Boxing, in association with Trump 29 Casino and Sunday Night Fights on Fox Sports Net, is proud to present to you the main event of the evening. Tonight's bouts are sanctioned by the California State Athletic Commission. The chairman for the California State Athletic Commission is Gordon Van Sauter, and your executive director, Mr. Robert Lynch. Also in attendance and overseeing the activities, the Tribal Council, Chairman Dean Mike, along with the 29 Palms Band of Mission Indians. And now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to box on Fox? It's time to separate the men from the boys. 12 rounds for the NABF Lightweight Championship. Introducing to you first, fighting out of the red corner, he is the challenger, weighing in at 136 pounds, with a record of 30 wins, 2 losses, 15 of those wins coming by way of knockout. From Columbus, Ohio, Michael Clark.
Yeah. Cold blood.
And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, weighing in at 135 pounds with a record of 28 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, and 9 of those wins coming by way of knockout. He is the current NABF Lightweight Champion. From Palm Springs, California, the Mongoose on the Loose, Steve Quinonez. And your referee and man in charge, Jack Reese.
Okay, guys, I gave your instruction in the dressing room. I just want to remind you, listen, obey my commands at all times, protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves, go back to the corner, wait for the bell. Good luck. Copy?
And with that, we are set to go in our main event. Michael Clark and Steve Quinonez. And both men obviously go to the same tailor, each in silver trunks with black trim.
Michael Clark said this one will do a lot for me. After I beat Quinonez, then I can really call out Mayweather.
And he really wants him. They have particular plans for Floyd Mayweather.
Antonio Ramirez pretty much went straight at Quinonez. I suspect that Michael Clark will not do the same.
Although he said he only watched a few rounds of Quinonez and he let his trainers worry about everything else. Said he's not worried about fighting a left-hander. He's fought left-handers before. Good left hand stunned Clark. I mean, it knocked him back on his heels.
Very clean punch, but good recuperative powers by Clark, and he already looks okay again. And that pretty good right there. It slid off the side of the face of Quinonez. Quinonez also watched Michael Clark on video, said he'd seen him fight 3 times. He said he's got a good right hand, but he slaps a lot.
Nice combination from Clark. Clark throws his punches a little outside in.
I was a little concerned about Quinonez fighting this soon after the kind of pitched battle that he had with Antonio Ramirez. If his body was really back all the way yet. You know, this is less than 6 weeks since he fought that incredible 12-rounder with Ramirez. It was nothing but hard punching for 12 rounds non-stop. And Quinonez said, man, I was really sore after that fight.
He said, I never thought I'd stop being sore. And you know, and did you also detect, and you don't like to read behind somebody's words, but that maybe he was a little bit concerned about that as well.
Yeah, but his rationalization was, I can't afford to not take fights if they're important fights for me and they can advance my career at this point. So that's why he decided to go ahead. Pretty good little inside left from Quinonez. Steve's gotten pretty tricky. Mongoose that he is.
That's right.
That's it, Clark. Hurt, mate. He's hurt. He's hurt, Clark.
Let each other go. Let each other go. Work out.
Clark turned it. Another good right hand by Quinonez. That backs Clark up. Clark backing up of his own volition. I think he's just trying to get his head together again.
Yeah. I think he got dinged a little on that one too, Barry. No question about it.
I'm not sure he's all back yet. Did the right thing though. He fought back.
All right, take a look at the first significant punch of the fight. It'll be coming from Steve Quinonez. And there you see that left hand that knocks him off balance. And then near the end of the round, after Clark had recovered, you see that right hook, which forced him to move backwards at that point. Michael Clark is a very tough guy and a determined fighter. We talked about his confidence, and maybe we thought it was bordering on overconfidence here. And he's a guy who came up starting with Emmanuel Stewart at the Kronk in Detroit. Across the way you have Steve Quinonez. There's the Mongoose. This is his home area. You saw his southpaw style. Likes to fight at a fast pace, the way he did with Ramirez. Talk about his way back up the ladder after that loss to Mickey Ward. And he was a concrete foreman in his father's business. So, you know, he's pretty tough himself.
Thought it was interesting, Clark talking about going to Detroit. He's from Columbus. Going to Detroit to fight at the Kronk Gym. He said, well, I thought where I came from was stuff. He said, oh, it's the Kronk Gym. He said, I don't know the meaning of the word.
He goes, I really thought I was a good trash talker till I ended up in the locker room with those guys.
Stop, break, step back clean, let him go. 2 steps.
Quinonez is actually from Cathedral City, which is about 15-minute drive from here. That's what they call freeway close in California.
Again, a good right hand, knocked Clark backward.
Clark, I think, is landing the same number of punches as is Quinonez, but the more telling punches have been owned by and thrown by Steve Quinonez.
Sean O'Grady joins us at the table here, and Quinonez showing a little pop in that first round and opens up the second round very similarly.
You know, and he has gained so much valuable experience this past few fights. In the fight even we talk about Antonio Ramirez, he really looks like a different fighter today than when we saw him early in his career. He was apprehensive before, he was waiting too long. Tonight he is he's taking the initiative. Steve Quinonez. In talking to Michael Clark back in his dressing room, I was talking to him a little bit about how valuable the Kronk gym was. You have all those guys at the gym that train with you that understand you. Here, he's by himself, and he feels it right now. Good right hand. You know, against the southpaw fighters, you're taught to throw a real straight right hand like the Kronk fighters do, and a real wide sweeping left hook like that.
Stop.
He says it doesn't bother him at all to fight in somebody else's cities. He says, I go to people's cities to fight. That's what I do.
Well, he understands the crowd's not going to hit you. Most of the time, I guess I should say.
Well, in October, he went to Ledyard, Connecticut, and he took on an undefeated local favorite there, Gary Boletto, and he recorded a very good victory in that fight.
And he won over some of the fans. In fact, the fans, when he first got there, they were against him. Once the fight was over, they were cheering for him. I think boxing fans are real respectful of performances from these kids.
Clark's starting to come on a little bit here.
Only 2 losses for Clark in his career against very good world-class fighters, Vivian Harris and Artur Grigorian.
I always liked her.
All right, stop, my break. Hands are free, you can fight, let's go.
You're going to make fun of Vivian's name, Barry Tompkins.
Boy, look at these bombs away for these two.
That starts to resemble the Antonio Ramirez fight. And Clark's getting bold, and Clark has landed some good shots.
That was a very good right hand. Knocked Quinonez back on his heels. Much better second round, I think, for Clark. Close fight so far.
It's all you, Clark. Good round, son. Good round.
Which one is his wife?
Turn around, how you doing, Steve?
Oh, boy.
You're not throwing nothing, see? Listen, the referee wants to give you a chance to throw. You know when you wrestle with him, what is your throw? Mira, the referee is helping you, Steve. Hey, if the referee don't tell you to quit, You throw. Come
You heard
on.
him twice. You fight in his fight. Remember what I told you?
All right. And remember, man, slip it to your left from the left hand. When the left hand comes to your left, you go right by your head. Don't abandon the body. Okay, son? You're working good. All right?
Come on, man, you can do it. Come on, Goose.
There's the Quinonez family. That is Diane, Steve's wife, his little girl alongside. He has a son who is here as well.
They suffer the pain too.
Family affair.
And a much more helpless feeling, I think, for them than for the man in the ring.
Helpless for them, but for the fighter, I knew I had my family at ringside whenever I was fighting, and I could hear my sister screaming for me. I could hear my mother screaming for me, and it kind of spurred me on. But when you when you get in the ring, the first thing I used to do is look out and see familiar faces in the crowd. If I felt like I was at home when I could find people that I knew, like I'd look over to see Barry Tompkins and Rich Murata.
We were there. Quinonez is a guy who says, no problem fighting near the home folk.
Now that I haven't fought here in a long time, it's I feel like I'm in a strange place, and I know that people, family, friends, people I know are going to be there, so it puts on a little pressure. So this is going to be another learning experience for me to be able to go in there and be focused on my fight and not so much think on who's out there watching me, or my grandma's out there, my grandpa, my dad, whoever. I just got to go in there and concentrate on Michael Clark.
Great thing to fight at home in front of your folks and your grandfolks, but the problem is, all during the day, the phone is ringing off the hook. All your friends calling that you've known since first grade, wanting free tickets to the fight that night. But he is appreciative to be fighting here in his hometown.
He said he stopped answering his phone about the middle of the week. He said there are relatives here who he's never seen. He said, well, I'll get them tickets, but they're not coming to my house.
Well, hopefully they don't listen to everything that's being said outside the ring as they're getting advice, certainly, and some of it being shrieked, as Sean said, by his sister. Best story I've heard about that was when Tommy Morrison fought George Foreman, and Foreman's a very good friend and PR man, Bill Kaplan, was yelling him constant advice during the course of the fight until Foreman actually, I don't know what round it was, 9th or 10th round, actually took a step back and said, "Shut up, Bill, you're telling him what I'm going to do." Right in the middle of the round.
That's very funny. Bill Kaplan, Hall of Famer now, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Boxing Hall of Fame inductee last year, along with Foreman.
One of the good guys, Bill Kaplan. Incidentally, there was a clash of heads a little bit earlier here, and no cuts, but keep a close eye on that.
Clark is really quick with that right hand.
And Clark wants to turn this into a sharp-shooting match. This is the kind of fight that he wants. For Quinonez, he wants to dig the body and make it more of a wrestling match, a tough fought, hard match, like this. Wrestle, pull those hands out, start punching.
Coming to the end of round 3. This is a 12-round fight, remember. This has been a very close round, as have the first two. Who won that round? I wasn't even watching it.
Come on, talk to me. What's going on?
Clark.
Hey,
I think Clark.
You're working good.
Very tight.
Still not moving your head over to the left.
Will you wait? What? Listen to me. I'm going to lose this fight. Don't pick it up.
Every now and then you throw the
Give it
combinations, deep breath.
Fight in his fight.
Deep breath.
You got to pick it up.
Give me a deep one. Come on, give me a deep one. Now listen to me, son.
That's the men's room.
You're working great.
Critics are calling the Best Damn Sports Show period a 2-hour frat party with irreverent skits, insightful interviews, and sharp locker room banter. The Best Damn Sports Show period every weeknight at 8 and late night only on Fox Sports Net.
All right, stop. My break. Stop. Step back clean. Let each other go. Good.
This is round 4. Been a close fight so far, and a fight that's right there for either man.
Last round was really tight, Barry. And along the way, when you get into round 8, 9, 10, and 11, you may have forgotten about that third round, about how close it was. You think about what's going on at that point, you know.
There's another little clash of heads there. It actually wasn't a clash of heads. It was more of a clash of head to shoulder, but there's been a lot of very close calls and one actual clash of heads, so it is something to watch.
Clark is coming to Quinonez. He walks to him, and then he quickly squares up his body and throws a right-hand lead. He's been very proficient with the right-hand lead.
Counter right hand. Again, they come very close to clash of heads.
Stop moving. Step back clean. Let him go.
Quinonez seems to be having a little bit of difficulty figuring out where Clark is going to be. Sean O'Grady's in the corner of Steve Quinonez. Marcos Caballeros. Sean?
Thanks, guys. Marcos, what do you see from the corner over here?
Well, we started good and it slowed down in the second round. But we talked to him right now. We woke him up. We're much faster than he is. He's counter punching. We got more speed, and I'm sending him right now to work more inside.
I saw you open up this fight, Marcos, with a good, strong, stiff body attack. Why did you do that?
Because it seems like he's leaving himself open. We're trying to go slowing down to the body. Because he's leaving himself open a lot.
You got time, too, in a 12-round fight.
Yeah, we got plenty of time. We got a lot of experience. So,
in his experience, how is that going to help him as this fight develops?
It'll help a lot because we've been to the top fighters. This guy, I don't think it will be any problem.
I know you're doing a lot of yelling because your voice is already gone and it's still early in this fight. How about that, guys? His voice is out already, guys. What's he going to do?
Hope he gets a knockout.
That'll take care of it. That'll take care of the close rounds, too.
I'm telling you, I keep coming back to these near headbutts, and there have been a ton of them. And you really don't want to see a fight be affected by that. Clark had a nice combination there.
Usually, a fighter's sharpness, Barry, is not affected by coming back real quick, but I'll say this, Quinonez does not look as sharp to me tonight as he did against Antonio Ramirez 6 weeks ago.
I think that may speak more to Clark's style.
Stop with the belt.
But what Clark is doing, which is exactly what he said he was going to do, is give him a different look every round. He'll be back.
Stop. That's it. That's another one, Clark. Round 5. Hey, a little one. Doesn't matter. Thank you.
All right, James is on headset now.
Hello. How you doing? Hey, I don't accept checks either. Cash only.
Doing great. Concentrate mentally. Second down, mouthpiece in. 5, number 5.
Round 5, and at great expense to Fox Sports Net, we have brought the champ alongside James Toney. Jones says he doesn't do nothing for nothing anymore. This guy's a big-time guy now, right?
I've learned from the best Dan Goose, you know what I'm saying? When he told me, yo, I come over here, I make sure I get paid for it.
Exactly. Don't do nothing for nothing.
We have a good fight here, yo. Man,
Yeah.
It's a good competitive fight. That's what we need. Mark Clark is good. Is a good basic offensive fighter, but he can do a lot more. He can help himself out by leading with the right hand and come with the left hook a lot more.
How tough is it fighting a left-hander when you just don't see him that much?
Oh, for me, I love fighting southpaw. I look up for the opportunity, but most guys when they fight that southpaw, they kind of get a little lax a little bit, kind of weird while doing their little boxing style. You see, Mark Clark got to do, he got to lead with his right hand and come with the left hook. So now he just back his head up there. He's susceptible to get caught with a right hook.
Clark's got a good right, and he's landed it on a couple of occasions.
But he's not following up though with the left hook though.
Quinonez seems to be having some trouble figuring him out. James, what's the problem for Quinonez here? As you say,
Quinonez, he's coming straight in. I mean, there's no secret what he want to do. He's coming in straight in with his head down. He got to give head side to side move, work himself in, chop the body down. He's head hunting too much, like that. Then when he jabs, when you jab, he's jabbing and bringing it back low. He's getting caught with the left hook. Like I said, it's there all night. And then all Michael Clark got to do is give himself a little space. And he can do it. Come with the uppercut left hook.
Who does it favor, do you think, James, if they start brawling, really?
For me, I think it favors Quinonez because I think he's the stronger fighter.
Here you go, Mike.
Clark's having a pretty good fight since the first round, I think, however.
He's fighting. He's boxing. He's boxing, getting in, throwing shots. He got caught leaving his left hand down. You see, leaning in, all the holding he don't need to do because if Quinonez is smart, when Mike Clark leans in, all you got to do is come up the left uppercut. Follow the right hook. Boom, sleepy time.
It's easy for you to say.
Okay. Well, Rich can do it too. You know, they call it the midnight boxing sensation.
That's right. Well, he did it to me. I used to be 6'5".
There you go.
James, Michael Clark told us earlier today that he thought he was a real tough guy and a real trash talker until they went to the Kronk gym. You know about that?
Oh, no doubt. That's my domain. You know, I'm the king. I'm the king down there. You know what I'm saying? But that's all we do down there is talk junk, back it up. If you're a rookie from out of town, they'll scare you out of there like we did out De La Hoya and Lennox Lewis. They went home after a couple of days. They weren't used to it. That's a real man's domain.
Well, that's what he said. He said he came from Columbus, Ohio, and he said, you know, I was raised not the best area. He said, then I went up to the Kronk. He said, that's a whole different deal.
Oh, that's a whole different domain right there. You know, it's like animal sanctum right there.
I don't want to give you official warning, but then I got to say, all right, don't hold.
All right, as Vonzell Johnson goes over to Michael Clark, we take a look at some of the highlights of the round here. You see Quinonez chasing, but he ran right into that right hand. Ran right into it.
See, what Michael's not doing, he's not coming back with nothing. He's just throwing one shot right now and trying to lean in and hold. If Quinonez is smart, he'll step back and, like I said, throw the uppercut and come back with the right hook. Yeah, he can win this fight. Either way, they both can do something a little extra to win this fight.
You want to win this round? You want to win? Okay.
Positive, bro. You can't feel nothing now.
You can hear Vonzell Johnson pleading to Michael Clark in the corner. Do you want to lose this fight?
Don't be a nice man. Don't be a nice man.
Vonzell Johnson was a great fighter.
Yeah, he was.
Action-packed fighter back in the 70s, light heavyweight.
You give yourself final. Now let's keep thinking for me, baby. Come on now, let's think.
Feel good.
Yeah, he was in there with the best guys in that era. He was in there with Matthew Saad Muhammad.
Oh, all the wars, the great 80s.
Michael Spinks, he fought Michael Spinks.
I see when Mike comes out, if he shoot that right hand, like I said, he's going to come back directly, automatically with that left hook. And keep punching, get back on the jab, move around. Don't lean in, because if you lean in, he's going to be susceptible for uppercut. I think if he just move and box the guy, he can get it. But on Quinonez's end, all Quinonez got to do is move, bob, and weave. Just cut him down with body shots.
Warning for holding.
Michael's jumping around a lot. Jumping around.
James, Quinonez was knocked out really badly one round by Mickey Ward a couple of years ago. He tasted that left hook of Mickey Ward's to the body, but he's come back with a bunch of victories over significant fighters, good significant wins. What does that tell us about Quinonez?
It tells you Quinonez he's true grit. I mean, he's a warrior. He's gonna come back. He's not gonna let one thing stop him. He's gonna keep on fighting until he achieves his goal.
It was to the hip, actually. So Jack Reese, the referee, is calling it no knockout. Tell us what that feels like, James. I'm sure you've been hit in the hip before.
Oh man, that's a killer spot. But I think that's more frustration for Quinonez right now. Why he did that.
And of course, as we saw earlier, and as we saw when you had your recent fight with Jirov, you were getting hit, but not necessarily in the hip, but right in the groin. I mean, so that's
in the groin and getting the head. But I see all